Hello, Neil. I would begin with one question, simple question, maybe not so simple. How would you describe yourself?
Passionate. Passionate about making a difference. I guess realised early in life that to me what matters most is being able to look back and see the difference that you've made. That may be completely obvious to you, but just at least feeling that the place is better off for you having been here. And as part of that, realising my own limitations, that I am certainly not the smartest of my friends, certainly not the most talented of my friends, but that my friends represent a phenomenal network that can do amazing things when they're aligned around a particular agenda. And I was lucky enough in life to be very early on surrounded by people who are very clever, and they were a great inspiration to me. So in my leadership capacity and also with the change agenda in mind, trying to find people who from pioneers and so on who have amazing potential to make a difference, but giving them the platform to align around an agenda, and me playing a role in enabling that, I guess is who I am. And of course doing that with passion, where people actually feel inspired, people actually feel like this is different, this is actually worth getting up in the morning for. So
if you were a trend creator, what trend you immediately would create?
Trends? I think representing transparency at point of sale to consumers. I fundamentally believe that we have evolved to be aware of cause and effect. I think we all have an internal compass that allows us to know how our actions impact on things. I think that compass has been silenced. We saw in the presentation earlier that business and brands working together have introduced opaqueness to us. And I think one of the ways to get around that is to work with businesses to make them aware of the benefits of not just having a relationship with their customers around price and quality, but also price, quality and transparency, where people can begin to see at point of sale what they're buying and the impact of that decision, and also make decisions based on that third dimension. And I think if we enable that, I think people then begin to decide, make different decisions. Right now we don't have the tools to make those decisions. So I think as a trend, getting that transparency in from supply chain collaboration right into the relationship with the consumer would be something I'd adopt. And I think that enables a lot then. That enables a richer relationship with consumers. It enables consumer power. It enables those networks to stand for one thing and stand against another. If you think about how that would work for gasoline, for petroleum at the pump, it's always been crazy to me that a litre of petrol here in Europe could be in a pump drilled out of the North Sea, cheaper than water for a while, which is all around us. And it's due down to the subsistence and the regulatory regime that needs to support that. And of course that's not even taking into consideration the amount of wars and conflict that also need to happen to actually get that into your pump. But I think if consumers were aware of that, and I think we're not, I think we're being denied that information, I think the markets can then begin to decide whether electric vehicles, hydrogen vehicles or diesel or petrol is a better option for us.
Imagine that you have this new social network, that you could choose 5 people from all over the world. You have that ability to choose everyone to be connected. Who would you choose? 5 people.
So is this the kind of the desert island question? If I was on a desert island, who would the 5 people be that I'd invite to dinner, or is it more around if I wanted to connect with people in a social setting, social media setting, who would they be?
Yes, people that you really want to be connected. To do what? It's for you to decide.
Okay, I'm going to be cliched here. I'm going to say Nelson Mandela. First of all, that's probably who everybody says. It's like, Shawshank Redemption or Thomas Crown Affair being your favourite film, saying Nelson Mandela is the person you want to connect with most is probably the most cliche thing you can say, and probably up there with Barack Obama at the moment. But if I was to look beyond that and look beyond celebrities, they are ultimately celebrities because of their achievements. I think Jacqueline McGlade, who led the kind of the climate change negotiations from the European environmental side up until COP15, I think Jackie did an awful lot of positive work, building networks, building platforms, building kind of communities that really were driving advocacy around COP15. Fortunately, it didn't work out for certain reasons, but I think regaining that momentum around, the kind of the intellectual capital that Jackie has built up would be, I think, a phenomenal thing to do now. I think we have already seen the environmental movement globally being reborn, not because of COP15's failure, but actually because of what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico right now. And I think a lot of the COP15 networks need to be realigned around that. Greenpeace are already doing some fantastic campaign work around Tony Hayward's move away from beyond petroleum back to British Petroleum, and making statements like we had too many people working in BP who were trying to save the world and closing down the Future Fuel office. I think the strategic risk materialising for BP and the impact on their brand will play out. Hopefully it will be a lot more in terms of the impact to them than the fine imposed on ExxonMobil for the Exxon Valdez spill, which is still being disputed by ExxonMobil, by the way. Originally it was $4.5 billion. Various courts have moved that either up to $4.5 billion or back down to, I think, $2.5 billion. Ultimately, ExxonMobil have not paid for the pecuniary damages for the Exxon Valdez spill. I think the world will not let that happen with BP. I think the attention, the focus, the presidential focus around what BP have allowed happen by their business strategy and failure to manage safety and health with a particular supplier ultimately will cost them dearly. And I think the world will make sure that happens. So
you're thinking about the choices, and now we see how you're choosing one person. There's so many.
Yeah. I do think that that beyond Jacqueline McGlade, I think there are other people out there who are leaders themselves. I don't go for the typical picking Nicolas Sarkozy or people like that, because I think the one thing we need to get and understand, and this is the paradigm shift that we were talking about earlier, is we're all leaders. If we have a higher purpose, if we have something that we legitimately are passionate about and believe in, people will be inspired by that, and particularly if you empathise with the people you're communicating that to. So if you understand their agenda and you're sincere about that, and you can actually articulate that purpose in a way that we can all be Barack Obamas to an extent. And that's what these networks are about, is actually putting the power back to people.
As we are going to finish, could you please answer me two questions? What do you think the world needs the most, and what do you think is the most important contribute that you are giving to that, to this world, to our world?
I think the world needs a clear understanding of what is true. The ancient Greeks used to debate a lot what is true and what is beautiful. Pythagoras, Socrates would sit around and have debates around the logic of each, and try and articulate to each other what was true and what is beautiful. I think the world has fallen in love with the beauty of this place to the extent that we are greedier than we should be, and over-consuming. And I think to address that, I think we need to get back to what is true, and rediscover that truth in terms of our relationship with each other and our relationships with our environment. I think those two things in tandem are actually what the world needs most. So what was your last question?
What is the most important contribute that you are giving to the world in your point
Me
of view?
giving to the world. Hopefully it's that soon, hopefully sooner rather than later, there will be other people more equipped than me, better than me, able to take on my role and do it better, with a further reach, be more inspiring, more passionate, because somehow something either I or the people who work with me have said that actually has inspired them to make a difference. And when that happens, it's going to be great for me because I can go surfing in Portugal and not feel as concerned about things anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Great.